Let me say this slowly, clearly, and with love. You were never meant to be an option. You are not a backup plan, a convenience, or something to pick up when nothing better is going on. You are a priority by design. And the moment a man treats you like you're optional, he is telling you everything you need to know about where you stand in his life. When a man truly values you, you don't have to compete for his attention. You don't have to remind him to call. You don't have to wonder where you fit. You don't feel confused, anxious, or second-guessing yourself. Consistency removes confusion. Priority creates peace. Anything less is not love, it's tolerance. You are not an option by design. You were not created to be someone's backup plan, something they reach for only when it's convenient, or a place they return to when they are bored or lonely. At your core, you are meant to be chosen fully and intentionally. When a man truly values you, that value shows up in how you feel around him, not just in what he says. Love that is real does not leave you confused, anxious, or constantly questioning where you stand. Those emotions are signals, and they matter. Peace is not a luxury in a relationship, it is a requirement. Confusion often begins quietly. It shows up as mixed signals, delayed responses, and promises that sound good but never quite turn into action. One day he's warm and attentive, the next day he's distant and unavailable. You start replaying conversations in your head, wondering if you said something wrong, if you asked for too much, or if you need to be more patient. But love that is rooted in value does not require mental gymnastics. You don't have to decode it. You don't have to chase clarity. When a man sees you as important, his behavior makes your place in his life obvious. Anxiety grows when consistency is missing. You find yourself checking your phone, watching the clock, and overthinking silence. You feel uneasy instead of secure. You may even start adjusting your needs, lowering your expectations, or making excuses for behavior that doesn't feel right. This anxiety is not because you are too much or too sensitive. It's because your intuition recognizes instability. A man who values you understands that emotional safety matters. He doesn't keep you guessing. And he doesn't leave you in a constant state of uncertainty about his intentions. Competing for attention is another clear sign that you are being treated as an option. If you feel like you're in silent competition with his phone, his friends, his work, or other women, something is off. Love is not a contest where you have to prove your worth again and again. When you are a priority, you don't have to fight to be seen or heard. A man who values you makes room for you. He doesn't squeeze you into the leftover spaces of his life. He creates space on purpose. Consistency is one of the clearest expressions of value. It's not about grand gestures or dramatic declarations. It's about showing up the same way, even when it's inconvenient. It's about calling when he says he will, following through on his word, and being emotionally present. Consistency builds trust, and trust creates peace. When a man is consistent, you relax. You don't feel the need to chase reassurance because his actions already provide it. Peace is the emotional result of being a priority. It doesn't mean the relationship is perfect or free of challenges, but it does mean you feel secure in your place. You're not constantly bracing for disappointment. You're not afraid to express your needs because you know you won't be punished with distance or silence. Peace allows you to be yourself, not a smaller, quieter version trying to keep someone from leaving. Confusion is not love, no matter how intense the connection feels. Chemistry without clarity is not commitment. Attraction without consistency is not security. Love that is healthy brings calm, not chaos. It brings understanding, not constant questioning. When you accept confusion as normal, you slowly disconnect from your own standards. You start believing that love is supposed to hurt, that uncertainty is part of the process, and that peace is unrealistic. But that belief keeps you stuck in situations where you are not fully chosen. You are not asking for too much when you ask for clarity, effort, and consistency. You are simply asking the right person. A man who truly values you doesn't make you feel like an option because he knows what you bring to his life. He recognizes your presence as something meaningful, not replaceable. And when someone shows you through their behavior that you are not a priority, believe them. not to punish them, but to protect yourself. You are not an option by design. You are meant to be chosen, with intention, treated with respect, and loved in a way that brings peace to your heart. Anything less is not love. It is a lesson reminding you of the standard you were always meant to uphold. You can't earn priority by tolerating disrespect, no matter how patient, understanding, or loving you try to be. There is a quiet lie many people are taught to believe, that if you stay long enough, give enough, or love hard enough, someone will finally recognize your worth. But priority is not a reward for endurance. It is a decision a man makes because he values you, not because you proved how much pain you could survive. When disrespect shows up, it rarely arrives loudly. It comes in small dismissals, broken promises, delayed responses, and boundaries that are ignored. It looks like being talked over, taken for granted, or treated as though your feelings are an inconvenience. At first, you may excuse it. You tell yourself he's stressed, busy, or emotionally unavailable because of his past. You start believing that your understanding will soften him, that your loyalty will inspire him to step up. But what actually happens is the opposite. When disrespect is tolerated, it becomes normalized. Staying in a situation where you are not valued does not teach someone how to love you better. It teaches them how little they have to do to keep you. Every time you forgive without change, every time you accept less than you deserve, you silently communicate that your boundaries are flexible and your needs are negotiable. This is not because you are weak, it's because you care. But care without self-respect slowly turns into self-abandonment. Sacrifice is often romanticized in love, but real love does not require you to sacrifice your dignity. There is a difference between compromise and self-erasure. Compromise happens when both people adjust for each other. Self-erasure happens when one person keeps shrinking so the other can stay comfortable. If you are always the one understanding, waiting, adjusting, and forgiving, then the relationship is not balanced, and imbalance breeds resentment, exhaustion, and loss of self-worth. Loving harder does not make someone choose you. You cannot love someone into emotional maturity or commitment. Love does not cure indifference, and it does not transform someone who benefits from giving the bare minimum. A man who wants to choose you does not need convincing. He doesn't need ultimatums or endless second chances. He sees your value clearly and acts accordingly. If he doesn't, no amount of love from you will suddenly open his eyes. There is a painful moment of realization that comes when you understand this truth. A man either sees your value or he doesn't, and that has far less to do with you than you think. Your worth is not determined by his ability to recognize it. Sometimes people are simply not capable of offering the level of respect, consistency, and care that you require. Staying longer does not increase their capacity. Suffering does not create commitment. Endurance does not earn devotion. In fact, suffering longer often delays the inevitable. You spend months or years hoping things will change, only to look back and realize how much time you invested in someone who never fully showed up. During that time, you may lose confidence, question your instincts, and lower standards you once held firmly. The cost is not just emotional pain, it is the slow erosion of your belief in what you deserve. Walking away from disrespect is not a failure of love. It is an act of self-respect. It is you deciding that your peace matters more than potential, that your future matters more than familiarity. When you stop tolerating disrespect, you stop negotiating your worth. You make it clear, first to yourself, then to others, that love must meet you at a standard not below it. The right man does not need you to prove your value by enduring pain. He does not test your loyalty by seeing how much you will tolerate. He protects what he values because losing it would cost him something real. He shows up not because you stayed despite the hurt, but because he never intended to hurt you in the first place. You cannot earn priority by tolerating disrespect. Priority is given freely or not at all. And the moment you understand that, you reclaim your power. You stop trying to be chosen by someone who benefits from not choosing you. You choose yourself instead. and that choice changes everything. Staying optional teaches him that half effort is enough, even if you never say those words out loud. Every time you accept inconsistency, you send a quiet message that this level of treatment is acceptable. Not because you truly believe it is, but because you hope patience will turn into commitment. What you may not realize in the moment is that silence becomes permission. When you don't address patterns or you keep staying despite them, the behavior doesn't improve. It settles in. Inconsistency is one of the most draining experiences in a relationship. One day there is attention, affection, and reassurance. The next day there is distance, excuses, and emotional absence. You start living in a state of anticipation, waiting for the version of him you like to return. That waiting slowly becomes your normal. You stop expecting stability and start celebrating small moments of effort as if they are proof of love. But love should not feel like a reward system where you're grateful for what should already be standard. When you stay optional, you adapt to less without realizing it. You tell yourself not to overreact, not to ask for too much, not to push. You shrink your needs so the relationship can survive. You become careful with your words, afraid that expressing how you feel might push him further away. Over time, you are no longer showing up as your full self. You are showing up as a version that is easier to ignore. Accepting inconsistency doesn't just affect the relationship, it affects how you see yourself. Your confidence begins to erode because you start questioning your worth. You wonder why you're not enough to be chosen fully. You replay moments, analyze texts, and search for meaning in silence. Instead of trusting your instincts, you second-guess them. Instead of expecting respect, you hope for it. This internal shift is subtle but powerful, and it changes how you carry yourself both inside and outside the relationship. Your standards also begin to lower, often without conscious choice. Things you once said you would never tolerate slowly become things you excuse. Missed calls, broken promises, emotional distance, each one chips away at the line you drew for yourself. Not because you don't know better, but because you're emotionally invested. And emotional attachment can make even the strongest standards feel negotiable. If you are not careful, self-respect is the final thing at risk when you stay optional. It's not lost all at once. It fades in small compromises. Every time you stay silent when something hurts, every time you accept less than you deserve, you move further away from your own values. Eventually, you may look at yourself and feel disconnected, wondering how you ended up in a situation you once promised you'd never accept. That realization is painful, but it's also a wake-up call. Half effort continues because it works. If someone can keep you with minimal investment, there is no incentive for them to give more. Growth does not come from comfort, and effort does not increase when there are no consequences. This doesn't mean the other person is intentionally manipulative. It means they are responding to what is allowed. People treat you the way you permit them to treat you, even when that permission is unspoken. The cost of staying optional is far too high for anyone. No connection, no history, and no potential future is worth sacrificing your confidence, your standards, and your self-respect. Love should add to your life, not slowly take pieces of you away. You deserve a relationship where effort is consistent, presence is intentional, and your value is not questioned by behavior. Choosing to stop accepting inconsistency is not about punishing someone else. It is about protecting yourself. It is out deciding that your emotional health matters more than staying in something that keeps you uncertain. The moment you stop accepting half effort, you reclaim your power. You remind yourself that you are not optional and you never were. Walking away is power, not weakness, even though it can feel like the hardest thing you've ever done. Many people mistake leaving for giving up, but in truth, walking away is often the first moment you truly stand up for yourself. It is the decision to stop explaining your pain to someone who keeps hurting you, to stop hoping for change that never arrives, and to stop shrinking so someone else can stay comfortable. Leaving is not an emotional reaction. It is a clear, grounded choice to protect your worth. When you walk away from a situation that no longer honors you, you are choosing self-respect over attachment. Attachment keeps you tied to potential, memories, and what you hoped things would become. Self-respect brings you back to reality, to what is actually happening. It allows you to say, "This is not enough for me," without needing the other person to agree. That choice is powerful because it places your value back in your own hands instead of leaving it dependent on someone else's behavior. Leaving protects your worth in ways staying never could. When you remain where you are undervalued, your self-esteem slowly erodes. You begin to question your needs, your expectations, and even your instincts. Walking away stops that damage. It draws a line that says your time, your energy, and your emotional investment are valuable. It prevents further harm and gives you the space to heal, reflect, and reconnect with who you are outside of the relationship. That space is important because clarity cannot grow in chaos. When you step away, the noise settles. You stop living in constant uncertainty and emotional tension. In that quiet, you begin to see things more clearly. What you tolerated, what you ignored, and what you truly want moving forward. Space allows you to rebuild your standards, strengthen your boundaries, and regain the confidence that may have been shaken. It's in this space that you remember your worth was never tied to someone choosing you. Walking away also creates room for the right man to enter your life. As long as you are holding on to something that doesn't serve you, your hands are not free to receive something better. The right man does not arrive in confusion or inconsistency. He does not make you question your place in his life. He does not need to be chased, convinced, or reminded of your value. His interest is clear, his effort is consistent, and his intentions are aligned with his actions. The right man chooses you without hesitation. He doesn't keep you in limbo or test how little he can do to keep you around. He shows up because he wants to, not because he's afraid of losing convenience. With him, you feel secure, not anxious. You feel seen, not ignored. His consistency creates peace, and his choice is not something you have to fight for. That kind of love feels calm, not chaotic. Walking away teaches you to trust yourself. It proves that you are capable of choosing your well-being even when it hurts. It builds inner strength because you learn that you can survive disappointment without abandoning your standards. Each time you choose yourself, you reinforce the belief that you deserve more, and that belief shapes every future relationship you enter. It's important to understand that walking away doesn't mean you didn't care. It means you cared enough about yourself to stop accepting less than you deserve. It means you valued your future more than familiarity. Strength is not staying and enduring pain. Strength is leaving when staying costs you your self-respect. The right one never has to be convinced. He chooses you clearly and consistently because he sees your value from the start. And until that man shows up, walking away from what doesn't honor you is not a loss. It is a powerful step toward the love and peace you were always meant to have in the end. This is what it all comes down to. You were never meant to be optional, confused, or tolerated on half effort. Love is not something you earn by suffering, waiting, or shrinking yourself. Love is something that meets you at your level, respects your boundaries, and shows up with consistency. The moment you stop accepting less is the moment you reclaim your power. Walking away is not bitterness, anger, or failure. It is clarity. It is choosing peace over chaos, self-respect over attachment, and truth over excuses. The right man will never make you question your worth or beg for priority. He will choose you openly and protect what he values. Until then, choose yourself, because the strongest love story you will ever live is the one where you refuse to abandon yourself for someone who wouldn't fully choose you.